Indeed, it's very important if we can get an idea of who were the different extraterrestrial civilizations that helped seed our planet or establish the human genome on our planet. So you talk about the seeders, and you talk about the 24 civilizations, and you talk about the Intergalactic Confederation. So can you just explain who they all are? Is it all just one and the same?
The Intergalactic Confederation is a gathering of an amazing number of cultures from several galaxies. There's a lot of galaxies involved and so many cultures. Imagine in our only galaxies on how many cultures are in the Galactic Federation of Worlds, but at the intergalactic level, it's huge, the number. I don't know how they count that. It must be amazing. Well, that's the Intergalactic Confederation. It's like a super federation that is above all the others, just the galactic ones. These people, Intergalactic Confederation, they have a group within themselves, which is called the Seeders. So the Seeders are part of the Intergalactic Confederation. Who are they? They are 24 cultures, extremely advanced. And these 24 cultures gathered in a sort of a groupment that they call themselves the Seeders, of the founders, but the Seeders is really embodying what they do and who they are. They assist the great work of Source to spread out life throughout the universe. They recognize the higher management, or management, it's not really a word appropriate, but it depicts a bit the idea of 9 supra-consciousnesses. And these 9 supra-consciousnesses they're not part of anything, but they are at the root of the structure of the universe. We can talk about it later. So this is who are the Seeders.
So they are kind of like connected to this Intergalactic Confederation. And yes, the Seeders played, well, you mentioned 24 civilizations as well. So can we say that the Seeders there's 24 civilizations or cultures making up the Seeders?
Yes, that's correct, yes.
Great, okay, so now how were they involved in the establishment of different civilizations on Earth? I mean, we know of Hyperborea, Herodotus talked about Hyperborea, and Plato talked about Atlanta. So how were the Seeders involved with those 2 civilizations?
Well, the Seeders, they have been involved in the development of humanity since about 65 million years. It's really been a long history. They arrived, they did a little bit of work and attendance, and they went away. They came back, they went away. So they've done that the whole time, come and back. And at the time where Hyperborea was existed, Hyperborea is a civilization that grew from, mainly we can say it's the Earth people who have regathered into making in the Northern Hemisphere a civilization that was quite advanced, and they were very in tune with different people and races of animals who have since migrated to inner Earth. So Hyperborea was like, you imagine Tolkien or these epic settings, where people have quite of a civilization, but magic is there everywhere. They're very in tune with their environment and with the universe. So these people, the Hyperboreans, had commercial interaction with Atlantis, and even migrated at the end of their civilization to Atlantis. And Atlantis was founded by a specific culture, part of the Seeders, who are the Altians. And the Altians, they are the most interactive with us. They have still now 2 bases on Earth and a few in the star system, and they are the closest, humanly speaking, to us. So they founded Atlantis, and they found this continent fragmented in many islands in the middle of the Atlantic, and they settled there. They built a colony, they brought their technology there, and they welcomed many colonies of humans, and the Hyperboreans were part of them, one of these colonies.
Now, one of the other races or civilizations that were involved in the founding of humanity is the Anunnaki. And we know from ancient texts, from Sumerian texts, that the Anunnaki were involved in the creation of the human genome. And according to the Sumerians, as far as they know, from what they were told, the Anunnaki are humanity's forefathers. But with the information about the Seeders, it seems that the Anunnaki, were they actually part of the Seeders group, or were they something else? Were they like conducting a separate genetic experiment to what the Seeders were doing?
So the Anunnaki are not part of the Intergalactic Confederation. They are from Nataru, this galaxy, Milky Way. They live on a different dimensional plane, but they are from here, so they're not part, and they are not part of the Seeders. And they came they had an input, a very significant input in the development of human genome on Earth. But the thing is, when the Anunnaki arrived, we more or less know the story. They found Earth and they wanted to mine resources. One of the resources they were mining was gold. There was a lot of gold on Earth. And they saw these humans, these primitive humans. They were already humans, but more primitive than now. And they decided to upgrade them, mixing them with their own biology, their own genome, to create a race of hybrids that they could use as slaves. But when the Anunnaki started to this process, they discovered that these humans were already the fruit of another experimentation from other people, the Intergalactic Confederation. So they came afterward, the Anunnaki came afterwards and made their input into the development of human, but they were not the first.
Well, we know that according to some geneticists that human DNA is very similar to the DNA of chimps. And so chimpanzees have, 48 chromosomes, humans have 46 chromosomes, but the chimps have 2 extra chromosomes, but we have the same 2 extra chromosomes, but they've been fused together. And some authors say that that's a result of a genetic experiment or intervention by extraterrestrials many millennia ago. So would that have been something that the Seeders had done? You know, you mentioned millions of years ago that the Seeders were here. They began doing the genetic experiments. They created some intelligent species or groups. And then much later on, the Anunnaki arrived and they found, okay, here are these humans or these primates, but they weren't like the chimps. These primates that the Anunnaki began working with were presumably like, they had 46 chromosomes. They were maybe, I don't know, Neanderthals or Cro-Magnon man or something. So it seemed that there was a progression of different human primitive societies, and that the Seeders began, with the chimps, right, and then created primates, and then the Anunnaki come along and co-opt all of that. So you want to just elaborate?
Yes, well, the Patal, who are also a name for the Seeders, the Patal were a race on their own, but they gave their name to the 24 Seeders. We can say they are the Patal as well because they created the group, in fact. So these, the Patal or the Seeders, they took a very primitive, yes, a chimp, but it was before chimp, even before, an animal that was to develop a chimp. This little animal was taken as virgin ground for their experiment. They wanted to implant the human genome into this little animal and let nature develop with time. You know, they have all that time. So what they were doing, they were coming and putting a little bit of modifying a little bit the DNA of the very primate, and then they would let the law of evolution unfold. And when it will be all satisfactory, they would come back and put a little bit more, so it will be smooth and follow the laws of evolution, you know. And the environment would develop and change also. They would adapt to the environment. So that was done scientifically, like an experiment that you just watch. And you know, but the Anunnaki had other plans. They didn't want to do that for science, you know. The first idea of the project was by the military commander of the group, whose name was Enlil, and he wanted to use these primates. Well, because when they arrived, they had brought with them their own workers, but the workers rebelled and went away. So Enlil had this idea to use these very curious primates, and well, not primates anymore. They were early humans, and they had already behavior like humans. They were very curious, apparently. So the Anunnaki called them the black heads because they had black skin and very dark big hair. And that's very interesting because that gives a track to the genetics of who these early humans were. And they used them, but Enlil wanted to speed up a development by violent hybridization to speed up this development to have fast results. And that was against the law of evolution. So Enlil got an order that his half-brother, who was head geneticist of their colony, of their group, Enki, to do that. So Enki finally accepted. Well, he had no choice, you know, he was geneticist, he wasn't at the head of the command, but he was a scientist, and he was very curious. So he started to just, you know, look into that, and that's when he discovered and he changed his mind, and he said, oh my God, the potential in these ones, there's so many different intergalactic DNAs in these ones. They're not going to be slaves. I'm going to do something that secretly going to try to develop their potential and save them. So that was the start of big troubles.
Right. So that's very important that that there was this disagreement amongst the Anunnaki themselves over the humans that were created and how they would be used and exploited. And obviously, this is something that we can talk about a little bit later when it comes to their